Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Friday night. What the heck are we doing Friday night? You know why? Because Melissa's like, hey, I can't make a Saturday, but I can make a Friday. I go, I can make it work. So there you have it.
Here
It
we
has
are.
been and it has been a year. It's been a year since we have done this kind of a thing.
That's
Crazy.
crazy.
It is
That's
crazy. But you've
crazy.
been
Where's the time?
busy, busy, busy. Let me say hello to people and then I'll introduce you because as you remember, this is our stalling part. Hello, Carson. Hello, and Sarah. Good to see you. Cindy, hello, hello. Jean, hello. Ellen, hello. Maria, Ryan, Leslie, hello, group. Hello, Leslie. Lori, hello. Good to see you. And the cool part is we are also streaming live on Melissa Kim Quarter's page. So that's exciting. So hello to your people if anybody is watching out there. Hi, Sherry. Trying to get to you, and you're here. Cindy, hello. Hello, Cheryl. Hello, Julie. Welcome in, everybody. You know, everyone's doing that. Welcome in. I don't know why that sounds weird to me. Welcome in. I just want to say welcome, everybody. Welcome in. I'm like, oh, welcome in. You know, you see that
Right? Like you're opening this little door and you're like herding cats into their little
right,
seats.
right, exactly. Welcome, hurry, hurry, popcorn in 5 minutes. Right. Guys, I want to formally introduce or reintroduce you to my friend Melissa Kim Quarter. Now, I met Melissa at Celebrate Your Life. Melissa was um, doing techie work for them. And she's a speaker there as well. She's on the website. And she was taking pictures, and I was really nervous. And she took some great pictures and really talented. Melissa has an eye for art, an eye for beauty. And wait till I say that, both inner and outer.
Mhm.
So, and it's true. Not only are you an energy practitioner, but you're also taking the woo woo and brought it into the scientific world. So you are all about understanding psychology, and you are now a developmental, right? Developmental psych. No,
It's
wait.
okay. A
What is
depth. It's
depth?
DEPTH. I spell it because people think I'm saying death when I'm saying depth,
Depth. Yes.
but it does
Depth.
include that too.
Depth.
It does.
You're a depth. Psych. Why did I say developmental? Oh, because somebody else was talking about developmental. Anyway, a
It's all
depth,
good. It's a part of it, actually. Yeah,
which I love. And you are leaning more to, is it true? Correct me if I'm wrong. Jungian therapy.
that's
You
right.
know, I love me some Carl Jung. I do. I do. Evelyn, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Gloria, hello. Hi, Christy. And Myra, hello. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Thank you for being here. So, you are also an author, and
Yes.
you've held many women's circles,
Mhm.
and you've just done a
I'm
lot a
tired.
lot in your young age, my dear. A lot in your
Yeah.
young age. And you've got a couple things coming up, and we'll talk about that a little later. But this whole sense about renewing ourselves, because spring is coming up. It's all about renewal. It's all about, spring cleaning. Not, I believe, not only should we clean out our closets, but we should clean out our stuff in here,
Yes.
and also some of the stuff that gets trapped in here, but definitely the stuff in here. And I think that is also re re-authenticating ourselves when we're like, who are we truly? What do we really stand for? Or what doesn't serve us anymore, that we shift and move into this place of authenticity, integrity. And I think that's like something phenomenal that you do. So can you talk a little bit about, for you, what does that mean? Reauthentic.
Yeah. Oh, being authentic and re-authenticating also, I feel like it goes hand in hand. It's interesting because this has actually come up quite a bit lately. So I don't know if it's like you mentioned, spring on the horizon, tapping into that energy. But this has been an ongoing sort of conversation that I've been really dialed into the last couple of months with clients and students, and just it keeps coming up. And so there's for me, there's like this revisitation to, you know, childhood enchantment, and like your younger years when you have that ability to still wonder and play, and yet you're not really sure what this world is made of just yet. You might not have necessarily had many trials or tribulations. You might still be sort of naive in a really beautiful way. And I feel like there's a key to our authentic nature that lives in that time. That doesn't mean for people where maybe their childhoods weren't as glamorous as others, or you know, there's lots of impactful moments we all go through, and yet there's still this essence of this enchantedness around that time, that as we get older we lose a bit of that. We forget, you know, we forget, and there's this loss of that. And in a way we could also think of that as like a loss of the sacred. And
Right.
so I really like to help people sort of tap back into some of those experiences and memories, because usually, wherever they are, regardless of whatever age they are, in their, you know, later years, there's almost a calling for that to come back to the parts of the self in that way. So it's almost like, even though we're technically maturing, you know, getting older, and like just navigating life in adulthood, adulting, whatever that is, there's still this desire to reconnect to some magical aspect that isn't necessarily magical fantasy, but magical as in like everything has a different level of vitality to it and energy. And I think that's what spring sort of like does for us in a way, as we come out of this long, you know, well, depending on where you live, but for us here in New York, it's pretty long and dark, and it's a difficult process, right? But when we tap into the energy of the seasons, I do think it also helps reflect back to some of those earlier formative times where we have this wonder about us that I think wants to come back. So that's the short answer that I would say.
I was meditating on our talk today, and picking up the Sacred Forest Oracle deck by Denise Lynn. And when I picked it up, I got this really interesting picture, and it was all about renewal. And there's another picture in here that comes to mind. And I think we forget, like, spring is sprung and it's so good. And we forget about those childlike quality things that bring that true essence of playfulness and
Yeah.
innocence. And I think many people, things happen in our childhood. We have trauma. We have things that maybe, like, I know for myself, going through having older parents and seeing a lot of relatives pass before I was 10 was very different for me. It had a very different feeling of like, should a 9-year-old really be seeing, like, being at like 15 funerals? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So it was different. And I'm going to show everybody these two cards. And here we have renewal.
I love it. Frog spirit.
Yeah,
Hmm.
cool. And then this one, which is beauty.
Hmm.
And this goes back to, like, the inner beauty, the places of, but I want to say inner beauty. And when I say inner beauty, I always hear in my ear inner innocence, and
Yeah.
the innocence of being. And I think, you know, spring equinox is coming up, and I know that we both have done shamanic type work, and I love doing the stuff from the Peruvian aspect, where they do a despacho, which is like an earth honoring mandala. And it's so beautiful, and it's so wonderful to have each piece mean something. And I think that if we look at the different pieces of self, because there's a point here, hang on. If we look at the different pieces of self, we look at, like, all the good that we want, but we also have to look at and honor, wait for it, everybody, honor the shadow side of self.
Yeah.
Because if we don't have that side, we're not completely learning of the possibilities that we can be. Would you agree with that?
1,000%. In fact, the more spiritual, I just personally believe the more spiritual we are, the more deeply rooted we are in whatever our faith might be, whatever that spiritual connection is. I feel like we actually have a duty to honor both sides,
Mhm.
because when you are grounded in whatever type of belief system you have, there is a responsibility to learn how to hold conflict, to hold opposing experiences, to hold the dark and the light. And you can find beauty in that process. It's when we deny one or the other that we become lopsided, one sided, we'll call it. And we know from the work that we both do that when you repress anything, it doesn't go away. So, or I should say suppress, because that's the conscious act of putting it down is suppression. So, whatever we're suppressing, even innocently, whether it's, something that's just kind of difficult to think about or feel into, or even on a positive, like flipping this in a positive way, like maybe there's a skill that
Mhm.
you really in your heart want to cultivate, and you kind of like, let's say you want to be a healer, you want to be an intuitive, you want to be a writer, you want to be a musician, whatever it is you want to be, but you have this calling or this desire, but you push it down. That's not going to go away, and it's going to come out sideways to get your attention. So we don't just even suppress the negative things, we also suppress things out of doubt, insecurity. Who are we to do this thing? And I feel like the shadow, when it comes to the Jungian work, um, there's a huge misconception that it's this scary thing, when really it's a field that is just beneath conscious awareness. So if we can think of it that way, it kind of removes some of the, like, the monsters and the boogeymen from the whole thing. And it's
Right.
like, oh, it's just sort of like things that aren't yet in my conscious awareness. I like to explain it to my clients like it's sort of like if somebody gives you a flashlight, and you're in this room and you turn the flashlight on and you're looking around and you can see, but you're going to see whatever that beam is focused on. That's what our consciousness does. When we start to work with the shadow and these different parts of our psyche, it's like somebody gently turning the light switch on versus the flashlight. And I like to explain it that way because now we have these fancy, cool, like dimmer switches. So you can gently dial it up. You're not just blinding yourself with, information or overwhelm, but you can work with it in a way that feels very nurturing when we start honoring both the dark and the light, or the duality of experiences.
So important. So important. And think about it, everyone, that this just doesn't happen overnight. It is, again, people use this analogy a lot. Think about it as an onion. You are literally unpeeling the onion. If you took your time to unpeel, you get to the really good essence. But if you just cut in half and go, here we go, done, it's like, well, you skipped a lot of steps and you're not getting the full benefit of that. Um, I love to hear from you guys. And let me just say hello real quick, because I hate leaving anybody out. Hello, Sue Fraser and Jill and Tani. Hello. And Julie says, well, Melissa is saying really resonates with me, even though adults needing that wonder, etc. Yeah, yep, exactly. Alicia, hello. Look at that baby.
Oh,
You baby. Hey, Alicia, real quick, girl. You know, there's a retreat coming up in our neck of the woods in Skamania. I would love for you to be there. Just take a look. Go to my website and take
it's
a
a
look.
gentle nudge.
It's a gentle Greek push. Alicia
Great push.
was one of my massage students in Chicago, so she knows my Greek shoves. Yeah.
Oh my
Uh,
God, I love it. I love how it just escalated. It was like Greek push, drink, Greek shove.
no, yeah, she knows it. For everybody else, it's a nudge. Hello, Ashley. Hello, hello, Facebook user. Joy, hello, and Dina, hello. So let's hear from you guys. What is it that allows you to reboost yourself? How do you renew yourself? What do you do for your own spring cleaning? What do you do for that? What's a good way of doing it? Because we can tell you many ways to do it. I mean, while you're writing it out. So It could start off simply with smudging,
Mhm.
just doing a nice smudge, whether you use a Palo Santo stick or whether um, you can use sage or you can use a singing bowl. Or maybe I know you've done this and I've done this. You could do a sea salt bath, and that's a nice way to renew. So what you're doing is, I'm talking about the etherical body. But what else do you do for the mental body? What else do you do for the emotional body? What do you do for the physical body? Um, Julie says, I really don't know. I think I'm at my lowest. Thank you for ideas. Of course, Julie. Of course. And you know what? Do a favor for me. Um, if you can. If you can. Go to your local grocery store, go buy yourself a plant or go buy yourself some flowers and remind yourself of that renewal. Emmy Scamahorn, Facebook user just called me out. Never a gentle nudge with Elias. Never, never.
The Greek shove.
It's a Greek
I'm
shove.
never going to forget that. That needs to be a book title. The
The
Greek
Greek
shove.
shove. I like
That
it.
would be a
Correct.
great book title for
I
you.
think it's a great book title. Thank you. Cheryl says, I listen to meditative music in my hammock in one of my bedrooms. Oh, that's really cool. In your
I
hammock in
want
your
a hammock in a bedroom. That's incredible.
That's really cool. You're welcome, Julie. You're welcome. Um, who else? Jill says, I like to write down goals for the year. It's not so much for pressure, but for I have some time. What was I going to do? Great. That's awesome. So think about this, guys. How can it get better than this? What else is possible? Think about that as a renewal. Just think about that. Hey, Stephanie Serby. Um, what are some other things, Melissa, for you?
One of my favorite things. So I'm also part of my schooling that I'm going through right now. We have a really huge module on eco psychology, and
Hmm.
it's absolutely beautiful. So it's working with nature, working with the earth, our relationship to the planet, but it's a very cool reciprocal kind of thing. So they ask questions like not just like how do I feel in this place, but how does this place feel about me being here? Like you get to kind of dialogue in this way. And so one of the things that I've been doing lately is going outside, sitting, and this time of year we can do that. It's getting a little nicer finally, but finding a tree that this might sound funny to some, but maybe not everyone, finding a tree that looks sort of welcoming or warm, a tree that looks like it would be friendly to just be near. It sounds kind of silly, but you'll know because you look around, you'll know. And just sitting next to it, and if you can put your body on it, so if you can sit on the ground and have the trunk of the tree aligned with your spine and do some deep breathing. And the hardest part for people in these kind of practices is to let the thoughts just go. You're not trying to stop them, but you're just learning to be with them. And it's incredible because we have these different types of attention that are going on. And when we go into nature, it shifts us just automatically from this one type of attention into another. And what happens is that actually widens our perspective. So we're able to see, sense, and feel more when we're in this natural sort of aware and attentive, but open kind of a state. That can help people. I do that a lot, but just sitting there and breathing with something supportive like that, because then it's also unconsciously telling the body, because the body feels the tree, right? And it gives the mind a job. Well, what it's also doing is it's allowing you to symbolically be held in a moment. So for those of you that are like, I don't know what to do, or I'm having a hard time, or I'm not sure how to stop the ruminating thoughts, or whatever it might be, something simple like that, 5-10 minutes of just sitting and breathing, you will feel like a different person when you get up. If you give yourself permission to actually be and let the thoughts flow through and feel that tree supporting your spine and remembering that you are part of this earth, you are nature as well. And then sometimes it also helps to think of the not just the tree, but the land you're sitting on beneath you, the tree itself, the wind, all the elements as different embraces from earth as a she. And that can be really nurturing for people that are also trying to declutter, clear the mind, and tap into an energy that feels supportive and warm. I do this kind of work with people when it comes to, like, we don't all have the best relationships with maybe a mother or an aunt or a sister, or you might be working on healing part of those, those different types of feminine wounds. This is a great practice for that. And being so close to spring, it's really got that energy kind of there ready to support you. It can be deeply emotional to just sit, breathe, and just be like that, because we're sort of in this this society where we're go, go, go. We're rewarded for action, for speed, for our busyness. And a lot of times we don't realize what we're actually kind of unknowingly pushing down a little bit until we get into stillness, into quiet, into solitude, whether it's the hot bath, like the Himalayan sea, or the sea salts, like you were mentioning, or the nature outside. And so sometimes we might actually resist those practices a little bit because there's a part of us that knows I'm going to be just available for whatever wants to come up. But the beauty in that is the more you stay with it and you just let things move through like a gentle wave, you begin to allow other thoughts, other ideas, other memories from childhood, other experiences to come up. So it's never overlook the simplicity of just sitting and breathing and being very intentionally. It can be life-changing when you consistently build on things like that.
So true. I remember, and several of the retreats that I've been on and have facilitated, there's usually an exercise where we have the attendees go and sit by a tree. Like their spine has to be against the tree,
Oh,
whether they
nice.
journal or whatever we do, it's with a tree or even hug a tree. It's
Yeah.
so important. Emmy says that she vacuums. She lives in the desert, so it's dusty. Vacuum makes my home feel better. Leslie says, accept help from others that are genuinely caring. Good for you. That's excellent. Julie says, I have a tree at the front door that I hug almost every day. I rest my head upon it and thank you for helping me and my little family to feel well-being. By the way, it's a sugar maple. I
Oh,
love that.
that's awesome.
And yes, happy International Women's Day. That's what I was
Yes, that's
talking
right.
about. To all the amazing women here. Yes. And look who it is.
Oh, hey, Lee.
Medium Lee Walzak. Hello to both of you just joining. Thank you. So you also have a couple things coming up. And one of these things, Emmy Scamahorn, you're going to love this one. You are doing a compilation book where this is your third one of the trilogy that you're doing. And you are looking for people to write chapters for this book. And can you tell people a little bit about it?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to. So this is a very, very near dear to my heart project. So it's called the Wild Woman series, and this is our third book. It's a trilogy, so we are ending it on this third book. And we have had the most incredible, incredible group of women participate in this project over the years. And we have a lot of returning authors. We have new authors. We have people that wouldn't even necessarily, in their words, call themselves authors yet, but they're stepping into that and they're claiming it for themselves because they have a desire to contribute, to share their story, share a message. So the overall theme, we choose a theme for each book. The first book was the Wild Woman's Book of Shadows. The second book was the Wild Woman's Book of Prosperity. And this third book is called the Wild Woman's Book of Alchemy. And alchemy, through my eyes and through my perspective, the way that I'm sort of shaping this book and kind of giving it some different context for people that want to join or think about the different things they could contribute. Alchemy is a process of change. It's a lot of things to a lot of different people. But old school alchemy was all about the transformation of metals, of this, they called it the prima materia. It was this base material that was kind of like this distilled down gooey substance. And so think about if you've ever worked with a therapist, a counselor, a coach, an intuitive, you've likely gone to them with a matter, something you want to work out. And so the prima materia is the prime matter. And
Mm.
what we think of as this material that has it's unknown. We don't know what to do with it. It might be a problem we have, an issue in our lives. And what we do through the process of alchemy is we learn how to create a container for an experience, right? So it would be the glass vessel, if we're going to go with this analogy. And then we have that prime materia in there. And then we experiment on what is going to shift this material, what is going to help us. And the ultimate goal for the alchemists was to tap into the gold, to turn this base gooey substance into a form of gold. And so when we do this psychologically, emotionally, energetically, we are transforming the muck, the stuff, the problem, the situation into something magnificent. And when we tell stories, that's what we're doing. We do that for ourselves by telling a story that we've healed from, that we've moved through. If we're still working it out and we haven't yet healed from the story, we're looking for our cathartic moment, our moment where we unburden the heart, where we open to a new way of seeing it, where we receive some type of settled feeling or relief from the experience. And there's so many different types of storytelling and also ways of working with alchemy. So this is just one example, but my favorite thing that I've been describing, I've had so many calls with different authors over the last few weeks of seeing if this is a fit for people or not. And my favorite analogy is to build on this idea of alchemy. We're talking about rebirth, and we're talking about spring and shadow work and how to work with different parts of self. And it's so interesting because if you think about the magic of alchemy isn't just about let's dump in some chemicals and see what happens. That's sometimes a part of it. The real magic happens when we keep the lid on the vessel and we
Mm.
let the pressure build up a little bit. And what happens is this transformation that's going on within this container, it needs to be contained. So what we're also learning how to do is to stay present without defaulting into behaviors that help us avoid or escape discomfort. We're learning how to stay with ourselves in a way that we learn to be embodied through a practice. We learn to be with these opposing feelings or tensions or a situation that might be quite difficult. But what happens is by keeping this metaphorical lid on, as that pressure builds, those chemicals shift and change eventually. And we go through a little bit of an unknown with this. We go through a period of what's happening. I don't like this. It doesn't feel good. I want out. And yet you've all probably been through something in your lives where you didn't have the option. You didn't have the option to check out, or you didn't have the option to dissociate, or you didn't have the option to walk away. And somehow you stayed with it and you discovered something new about yourself when it was all over. Likely something quite magnificent occurred. And so that's the idea of this process. So the authors aren't necessarily writing about the linear form of alchemy, the way I just described it with this metaphor, but they're talking about different facets of change. Maybe a dark night of the soul. What was that like? How did I get through that? Here are the steps, maybe, or the guided practice that I have to offer. So some people are sharing rituals. Some people are sharing just a story, just a narrative, just like that, where it's really more of what I've been telling them, at least, is it's more of a transmission, because these people, these women, some of them feel like, well, I'm just sharing what happened to me. And I'm like, yes, but you don't understand the medicine you're offering to someone else. Because when you share something, especially again, from this place of overcoming and working through it, sometimes it's still a little tender for people, but a lot of times when they're writing about it from this place, they've healed in a way that now offers that gift to other people. So there's always women that pick up these books and they go, I don't know how this happened, but this person is speaking to what I'm going through, or what I just went through, or what I'm fearing is to come. And every time these stories it overwhelms me quite a bit. It's such a beautiful experience because everybody's receiving in the process. The authors that participate in these books do not necessarily do it just for, let's say, to become an international best-selling author, although that's a perk for sure. We love that and it's fun. But they also do it because we have created a bit of a movement with these books. So Shanda and I, my publisher, who is really the shepherd of the logical part of the books, she is incredible. And together we work on helping every woman to recognize that not only is their story, their experience, their expertise, their wisdom valuable, but also they can do this. Most people that think about joining these kind of projects, and I can tell you, I've had phone call after phone call after phone call, and I hear the same thing over and over again. And one woman said it specifically the other day when she said, I saw this and I saw you were doing this project, and I thought that would be so great to contribute to that. But I'm not one of them. So she almost had this instant sort of feeling of being an outsider looking into something. And yet then we start talking about details, some of the things I'm sharing here. Here's how you can do it. Here's how you can write. Here's how we can tap into the soul of what it is that you want to express or you want to share. And then by the end of the call, she's like, I don't know why I felt like an outsider. I'm like, maybe it wasn't that you were feeling like an outsider, but maybe it was still unknown. Because when we're in that territory of the unknown, it's very easy to dismiss something, to reject it, to not feel good enough, to feel like that's not for me. That's different than an intuitive sense of alignment. We can feel like a yes or a no because something just isn't for us, or it's just not the right timing. But when we often feel like an outsider to an experience like that, it's because the ego is saying you're not good enough.
Right.
And the deeper self is going, but why are you reading this email? Why are you watching this video? Why do you feel, the deeper self is saying you're feeling called for a reason. And then the ego's job, just when we we're talking about the flashlight earlier and turning on the light, that's actually the ego. That is that level of discernment of consciousness. So what's going on is the ego is kind of like the dimmer switch in a way where it's only allowing a certain amount of information to meet you in the moment of your consciousness, where the deeper self is often hidden. And we have to actually work with the ego to sort of widen our ability to see, sense, and feel more. And this is where we start trusting ourselves more. We start to recognize, oh, that's just that part of me that is afraid. That's that part of me that doesn't want me to take a chance. That's just we don't want to blame the ego and make it a bad thing, because we actually need the ego. But it often will show up in experiences like this where someone is like, I want to write, I want to share my story, or I think I have a story that would be perfect for this. And then all the buts come in.
Yeah.
But I can't because. And I think it's important to address that. So I like to kind of name that in a way, because I feel like it's there for a lot of people who consider these types of projects. And they think one day I'm going to write my book. And then some will say, I'm working on my book, so therefore I can't do a compilation. But let me tell you something interesting. A lot of the people that join these books are working on their own book, and it actually motivates them to give that book energy because we start moving together through the process. Anyhow, I can just get a pause because there's a million things I can say
You're
about this.
good. I mean, I think people need to know, because there is a process to this. Emmy says, ooh, have I got a story for you?
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
I like it. So if they want to get in contact with you, well, nuts. She went there. Yes, she did, Carson. Know that I was thinking of you when she said that, my dear.
Where's that Greek shove?
Greek shove.
It's always, that's how
Yes.
you know you're in trouble. When those glasses come down, you're about to get the Greek shove. I think we're figuring it out what's going on with you, Elias. I think we've got your system down here.
Oh, good. And yes, I'm going to put that up there again. Well, not she went there. Yeah. So, how do they get in contact with you if they
So
are
the best thing to do is seriously just email, because we purposely don't have a big fancy sales page for this, because it is very personal. And I have no problem sending details. So usually what we do is I send out the details for, people that are interested. I'm currently booking 30-minute complimentary phone calls for people who are interested but have concerns, have more questions beyond, once I send them the information over. So we can kind of talk about it a little bit. The other thing is, you're contributing a chapter, but we're also offering so much more than just a chapter. So editing is included. And again, I can share all these, like the logistics, via email. But I just want to say that when you participate in this kind of a project, we know the insecurities and the doubts and all the fears and all the things. So what we also do is, I'm technically a certified hypnotherapist, and I also offer different sessions for authors throughout. It's all included in the fees. We have different things we go through together as a group. We have workshops that are included for the authors on marketing, on sales, with a soulful way of doing business. I also have a whole class I dedicated. It's a 2-hour workshop called Money Matters, and how to work through some of the money stuff that comes up. I use a lot of the depth psychology, active imagination practices, a bit of my shamanic background, all of that merged together, so that we can not only set the stage for you to share your message, but also so that we start to embrace the resistance. Because if we keep pushing the resistance down, it's just going to come out some other way. But if we learn how to lean into the resistance, it actually becomes a creative force. So what I like to do is work with people on their creative insecurities so they can tap into their magic. And that's what we do. We do it as a group, and it's so beautiful and it's so humbling, because we just have the most incredible women that join us for these projects. And they are, again, brand new people that they wouldn't consider themselves an author, to people who have their own books, who've been published multiple times, but they come back because it's just an experience they want to be a part of. It's nurturing, it's connected. We all just, as we move through this process together, we support each other. And one of the most magical parts of this book, it's my favorite thing. It's a little unnerving for the authors, I will admit, but it's my favorite thing. The authors don't really know what each other are writing about. So we have the theme, right? We'll have the theme of alchemy, and I have ideas on what that looks like. And I've got a list that I send out to people in the information when they're like, all right, tell me more. I give you ideas and say, here's some of the things. Transformation is a pretty wide arena. But anyhow, so when it comes to that, though, the cool thing is, like, they know that we're writing about this theme, but they don't know how. And what happens is, these authors, when everything is done, all the rounds of editing are finished, the bios are submitted, and headshots and all the technical stuff is done, and we get the first copy back, it is the most emotional experience ever. It's the first time the authors see not just their chapter, but their chapter with all the others together in this PDF that they're looking at to, like, just kind of do another review on it. And hands down, every time I get flooded with messages, with emails, like, oh my gosh, because what happens is synchronicity. Synchronicities happen when you're in alignment. When things are in alignment, your soul, your ego, your persona, yourself, there is a direct line. And that ego allows you to see more, which is also the alignment of the outer world in the most beautiful way. And so this happens every time with this book, where we will have somebody share something unaware of somebody else's experience. And it's almost like each chapter, even though it's telling its own story, there's these threads that are connected between them. And just briefly, I got to share this one thing because it blew my mind. The first book that we did, I was doing interviews, because we also do a summit. So there's bonuses included. You get to speak in our summit, and there's all sorts of magical stuff that we do. But in this first one, I'm doing these private interviews. I'm recording people, right? And they haven't talked to each other, and they don't even know what anybody's really going to be saying. And this one person starts talking about nature, right? And the ability for nature to help us heal. And she's going through all these really deep processes about also paying attention to signs and intuition, and how, signs can be anything from a cloud that moves through the sky to a butterfly that lands on your shoulder. And then I do the next interview, unaware. Again, it's just me and this person. And she starts telling a story about being in the woods with her husband and how it felt like this magical moment. And she's like, it felt like it was a sign, and this butterfly just landed on my shoulder. And I'm like, each one of them were like, they had no idea how connected they really were. And when people saw the videos for the summit, when they read their chapters and saw it all put together, it was incredibly overwhelming and emotional. And that's why it's so much more than just a beautiful book, which it is, but it really is the journey for the authors that makes the difference. It's how we all hold each other in this space of not knowing and resistance. And sometimes there's tears, because sometimes there's people just being like, I can't do this. And there's us going, yes, you can. And we are here, and we're not going to let you fail. It's impossible. And then, so when you get to tap into the most beautiful aspect of humanity in this way, and see these very intimate thoughts and feelings of people going through this process, you can't help but feel like you're now this little family in each one of these projects. So it's incredible. And then there's all the great stuff that we give and we do, and the bonuses and all the things, and we can share that with you guys. But yeah, email, that's why we do email, because it's so much easier for me to say this than it is to just have a cheesy little sales page or something that for me just has never been able to capture the magic. So I send you the details, and then we hop on a call. And if it resonates, it resonates. And if not, it's okay. But even when it doesn't line up, we still have a great conversation, and it ignites something in both of us. So it's a lot of fun. I can't talk.
I love it. Now, where do they go, Melissa?
Oh, so Melissa at melissacorder.com.
Hang on.
That would be the email.
Melissa, I'm going to put it in there.
Awesome. Hey, one of our authors is here. I just saw her pop up. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. There she is, right there. Perfect. And that is correct. Yes. Whoops.
Nice. Oh, Amy Bricko. Very cool. Just talking about, well, wait a minute. There we go. I'll be honest, I'm half listening. Sorry, finishing progress reports, but I need more info about this. Writing has been something I've been working toward for a couple of years. And thank you and absolutely, Amy, we're happy to share that with you. Definitely just, please reach out with the email. I'm glad you mentioned that, because this is something I get a lot of is, people saying, I have this book or I have this story. So there's two things I want to say on this. So first of all, one of the things that makes this project a little bit different is we are not as traditional as some publishers might be. And so what that means for you is that, let's say you contribute a chapter, but you're a little conflicted because you want to write your book, your solo book. So you want to contribute a chapter that might have a similar tone or might be similar to the story you want to tell in your solo book. We actually make sure you have the rights to your work. So when we publish this book, you can actually republish and reuse your chapter however you want to. Mm-hmm. The only thing you can't do is republish the entire book, but you can take your chapter and you can expand on it. You can take it word for word and put it in your solo book or reuse it. So we're very careful about, we don't want to censor people, right? The idea is to help women liberate their voices, not put them in more boxes. So that's the first thing that I wanted to mention. That is just kind of helpful to know for you, that some people that are a little conflicted on doing a joint, a co-authored book, a multi-authored book versus their own. The other thing is that the timing. So a lot of people say, I've been working on this for years. I've been working on it for years. And what we sometimes are unconsciously waiting for is time to just say, now you've got this week off, get that book finished. But often what's happening for a lot of us, right, that finally finish the books, is we're taking little bits of time and being consistent with it. And what I find is it's really difficult for a lot of people to give themselves the gift of time to say, this is important to me. It's special to me. This creative impulse is not going to go away. I need to write this book. But then life is happening and will often take them out of that energy. So the great thing about doing this kind of a project is you also see timelines moving slowly in a really beautiful way. You're not overwhelmed with the deadlines, and because there's very few, but what it's doing is it's also getting you to commit to the writing practice. So I have a lot of women that are like, working on this book actually helped set me up for my other book, because I realized I had to claim that time for myself. The universe wasn't just going to give it to me. I had to actually say, this is important for me to sit my butt in this chair, light my candle, shut off my notifications, and do this thing. So sometimes these books will help us to cultivate like a discipline around our creativity. Because, Elias, I'm sure you get this. We're very intuitive people. So we have ideas and we have things and we have notebooks filled with ideas and the someday stuff that we're going to do. And at the same time, we also know these days aren't promised. So the more we can really just hone in on what is essential, what do I really want to create? How do I want to let this move through me? Can I dedicate the time? So that's something that I love, that this project is like a byproduct of. It is also setting up other people to learn how to really respect and have the sacredness in their creativity to make it an important part of their lives, instead of waiting for time or the universe or something where maybe the universe is like, well, you got to show us, right? Show us that this matters to you, that you're claiming this for yourself. It doesn't mean it has to be hard, but intention for sure is a piece of it. So thank you for sharing that, because it sent me on this bit of a thing around, that's a common question that comes up for people around timing and writing and things too.
Lisa says it's an amazing journey and bonding experience for everyone involved. And when the book is out, there's a whole layer of
Oh,
connection.
yeah. Oh, we do a huge launch. It is so amazing. It's amazing and intimidating, and there's so many feelings and emotions, and and it's a very sacred experience, because there's some people that say, you know what? My courage, my courageousness was about writing that chapter. I don't need to go live in order to prove anything or whatever. So some women will say, is it okay if I don't go live to promote? I'm like, you trust your heart. What does your heart say? What feels like your way of putting this into the world? So we
Right.
have some people, writers will write. So they might write and share and do things like that. But we also don't pressure our authors to have to market a certain way. There's no, you need to post this twice and solo email nonsense. We're just like this. It takes a lot of time and energy to run this project. And we also attract the most incredible people. So we really don't have issues like a lot of other projects have. And I say other projects because I've been a part of a lot of them. And I remember just sort of feeling like, where is everybody? Like, I feel like I'm on an island writing by myself. What's going on? And a lot of them, that's just how it is. You just write your chapter, you submit your chapter, and you're doing your thing. We like to actually feel like we're moving along together. Something's happening. We have exercises, we have trainings, we have brainstorming sessions. This book has the most actually that any of them have ever had, because it's the final of the trilogy. So I'm also going out with a huge, like, we're making this one massive.
I
It's
love
gonna
it. I love it. Vicky says, do you host the Wild Woman Sisterhood page on Facebook?
No, I do not. No.
Yeah, that's not her.
But I do follow them
Yeah.
because they're incredible.
uh, Voice recorder, yes, because Lori said about dreams and songs. Awesome. Now you're also doing some other classes too, aren't you?
I am. I am. So here's something interesting I will say. So we have 3 classes coming up, one for March, one for April, one for May. And so I sometimes will mix the spiritual, psychological with business, to help, entrepreneurs or authors, creatives, because a lot of times that's not really our area that we're that comfortable with. Maybe we're just not as familiar with how to work with those things. Some of us are just really focused on our craft and haven't figured out, like, how do I really get this out there a little more, or break down some of these barriers of visibility, being seen. So we have a combination of workshops. All of the authors will get these are bonuses that'll be included in their author fee. But the first one is coming up at the end of March. And I just have to look at my phone super quick to tell you what they are, because we have 3 different ones that we put together. So the first one is the end of March, and it is called Grow Your Business. This is a 2-hour live workshop blending the psychological and the spiritual into aligned business practices. So you mentioned earlier, Elias, the shamanic practices. And so I do things a little unconventionally in my business, which I'm
Yeah.
sure you do, right? It's just the way we are. And so, I have this process where we can figure out, like, do we need to breathe new life into something, or do we need to put it to rest and reinvent ourselves? And so we have a lot of interesting conversations, but the grow your business is going to be to help people really deepen into who they are, because the business is a reflection of the person. So that'll be a little bit of that one. There's more, but just for the sake of going through these quickly, the second one that's in April is called Magnetic Presence. This is a 2-hour live workshop blending the psychological, the spiritual dynamics of becoming more visible. We look at the different reasons why some of us have unconscious blocks for attention, because having a spotlight on us or shining too brightly activates different parts of us that may have been impacted for different reasons. One of the biggest things is our fear of becoming a target. And so, with online world and trolls and this and that and scammers, there's a lot of fear around putting yourself out there. So anyway, the second one works on how to become more magnetic in your wording and your imagery, but then also working on visibility. And then the last one is called Money Matters. I've done a lot of trainings and workshops for years. I never wanted to teach about money. I didn't want any part of dealing with that until I realized how deeply embedded money and spirituality and these beliefs. And it was breaking my heart seeing so many entrepreneurs struggle. And I had struggled and struggled and struggled myself, and learning how to really tap into who we are to become more authentic in our message and our branding, and then working on some of those patterns and cycles. So Money Matters is 2-hour live workshop blending psychological, spiritual dynamics of pricing, charging, and selling your products and services. So those are the 3 bonuses that are included for the authors or standalone workshops. And for those, you can email me as well, or you can go to melissacorder.com. And I believe those pages, I believe they are live right now. If not, they will be over the weekend, because I know people are already purchasing that. I just don't know if our link is in the...
And I want to make sure, am I putting your middle name in there or no?
Oh, no middle name, just melissacorder.com.
So guys, I did it wrong. Melissa at, because I'm so used to putting Melissa Kim Corder. Melissa at melissacorder.com. That's what you want, everybody. So
thank you.
Ignore the other one. Ignore the other one. I can't believe this whole hour went away. Just
this
like
is crazy. It's always so fast. It's that Greek shove.
It's that Greek shove. Let's go.
I'm not letting that go. I'm gonna randomly message you in like 3 months and just be like a shove emoji with like some type of Greek thing.
I'm also going to be on your live coming up.
Yes. When did we say? Let's see.
I have no idea. I don't have my notes in front of me.
So. I've got it in my calendar too. I think we said.
I'll look it up. I'll put in
April.
I will look it up. I'm going to put in Melissa in my calendar. And, and there it is. No, that's not it. It's March 22nd.
Oh, what is it? Oh, because your retreat is April.
My retreat's coming up. And did you say retreat? Did you really? Thank you for saying that. Here it is. It's gonna be Greek shove. Look, watch.
That was a Greek glide. That like slid in from the side. That was a Greek glide.
There you go. Community Lodge Spring Wellness Retreat. There it is. We are doing a sound healing. We're going to do a trance dance. We're going to talk about the wheel of life. We have a lot of things planned, and it's beautiful. Melissa's been there. I've been there. It is
beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Talk about vitality and nature. Oh my goodness. That is a very special place for sure.
Really, really good. And if you can't do this one, go to eliaspatris.com and look at all the events that we have. And tomorrow night, come back here tomorrow night. We have Ava Goulet. You'll love her, Melissa. Ava Goulet is she's on the East Coast, so she's near you. She teaches people how to have spirit camp for kids.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
teach
really amazing.
like 5-year-olds, I think, to 12-year-olds about chakras and so many
Wow,
amazing different things. And
that's so
her,
beautiful.
it it is. It's amazing.
Can you
Her
imagine what they're gonna be like? Like,
I
those adults are just gonna be incredible. Can you imagine having that at such a young age? That's really wonderful.
she has her website is dancing. Hey, let me get this right. dancingjaguarinspirations.com.
Mm,
Go take a look. She'll be on tomorrow. We're going to talk about renewing your childhood spirit. So not only does she teach kids, but the adults were so jealous that they wanted a camp for themselves as well. So
hell yes.
adults how to teach kids. She teaches the kids, and she teaches a spirit camp for adults. So
Wow,
yeah, so that's
that's
tomorrow
amazing.
night, 5 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock ME time, which is Mountain Time, 7 o'clock Central, and 8 o'clock Eastern. I would have loved to send my little man Izzy to her spirit camp. Yeah, Christy, come join us tomorrow. Come join us and take a peek. It's she's a wonderful, kind-hearted woman. Her story is she had an accident and had brain injury, and it took her all this time to get back. And during that healing, this is the information that came through to create a spirit camp where many teachers can teach throughout the world kids about how to be better humans.
That's
So
amazing.
I love
That
it.
was
I love it. I love it. I love it.
That's powerful work. That's
It
powerful
is.
work, like shaping little minds and energy little energy bodies.
Now, and you, my dear, are always welcome back. Always welcome
Thank
back whenever
you.
you need, whenever you need. And everyone, thank you so much for spending this time, this special Friday with us. It is awesome. Thank you, Carson. YouTubers, please remember to like and subscribe. And yes, see you tomorrow night for the next live. Remember, everyone, we are here to connect. And when we connect, we educate. And when we educate, we grow. From our hearts, shove, from our hearts to to yours. Thanks, everybody. Have a beautiful
Thank
night.
you. Good to see you all.
Take care, everyone.